Welcome, 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 welcome. A lot of you are like super, I don't know, freaked out or whatever because of the loss yesterday. And you know what? I'm with you. Yes, I like, you know, I don't know that I ever said that this K State thing was a must win, but I felt it, and I think that that's part of this. This video is called "The Things We Think But Do Not Say," and they're going to make this a regular thing because pulling punches and not saying really kind of what we feel like as fans that we need to do as the Colorado Buffaloes to try to at least get to the Big 12 title game, win the Big 12 title game, that kind of thing. I mean, that's really what the goal is. The goal is, I guess, the goal is to get to a bowl game. Okay. But we are in a position right now where the Big 12 championship game is not an easy thing for us right now. Going into K-State, it looked a lot easier. And we'll go into the Big 12 at the very end of this broadcast. But this game is a real big kick to the gut. Anyway, 4-2, so we still have a great record. In fact, I am happy with 4-2 right now. Like, I'm ecstatic about 4-2. Getting over this pain, which is basically doing this video to flush out the pain, is going to be much better. Now, in this video, we're going to bring the things that were great at the KSU game, the things that were bad at the KSU game, which there were plenty of, right? Then we're going to go into what I think, I'm going to say lost the game, even though it wasn't truly losing the game. It was just the fact that we had an opportunity to win it. We didn't win it. So why did that happen? We're going to do some film review. I picked about 6 plays that I thought kind of summed up the game. And we're going to look at those, and it's going to show things like, how did we miss so many tackles and why did we miss them so badly? The good things that we did on offense from the standpoint of just pure effort. And then the last play of the game, which I think is obviously the crux of any game. I say obviously the crux of any game. I think it's the crux of any game. If you're on a last drive to win the game and you don't win the game, you need to break down that last drive. Football, anyway, and then we're going to go into the Big 12, and we're not going to do this, on a huge long video because I know you guys have to get back to things in your own life. But at the same time, we do need to talk about this. Out of my mind, what is up? How you doing, sir? Welcome first in the chat. So first, let's start out with the good things. So what did CU did good? And some of these are actually going to be in the film that I'm going to show too, and I'll mark those out. We just put up a fight, and it was a dog fight. And when I say a dog fight, it was exactly like we had talked about in the video beforehand. I thought it was going to be down to the wire, and I thought it was going to come down to the last play of the game. So whoever has the ball last has the opportunity to win it. And in this particular case, it was CU. So it was mapped out perfectly from that standpoint, right? So it was a dogfight. And although we didn't look great in some areas, we did look great in others. And even though they didn't look great in some ways, they looked great in others. And I stated that it was probably the matchup of the year for us so far. And it certainly turned out to be that way, right? But the good. So Shedeur Sanders. This is one of those things that we think and do not say, right? Not this one, but the other part, right? So Shedeur Sanders, the good thing, the things that we say, 85% completion. I mean, just an insane amount, an insane percentage when you're talking about 40 attempts. If you're talking about 12 or 15 attempts and you were 85%, hey, I get it. You missed one pass. Good on you, right? But when you're throwing 40 at 85, Shedeur is a very accurate thrower. We knew that, but he is more accurate than he has been this season. Okay. 388 yards. So not a slouch. It wasn't one of his 400 plus games, but which I had thought maybe that it would be because we thought that the defense for K-State was suspect in the secondary. And the last piece of video I'm going to show you here coming up shows you exactly the opposite. Okay. They showed up in the secondary when it was time to show up. I'm going to show you that. 3 TDs, 1 interception. That 1 interception turned out to be a very costly interception for us because we were driving for what would be a go-ahead touchdown that would have won us the game had everything else played out, right? So It wasn't inconsequential. Let's put it that. It wasn't an interception that was, like on the 40 or the 50 or something like that. It was an interception that was, for the most part, right on the goal line. But it's 3 TDs nonetheless, right? And we're going to have interceptions. Shedeur going to have interceptions. He has a very low interception rate. So the fact that he had one in this game, not a huge deal, like not crybaby stuff. But at the same time, the things we do not say, that interception was a very costly interception, right? And then 186.2 QBR, which is really freaking good, but it's really only the number 2 QBR of the year. I think he was over 200. He was like 204 in the NDSU game. He was over 200 in that game. So this was one of his most prolific games so far this year. And really, that is what kept us in this game. Okay. Another positive thing, he showed aggressiveness. I said this in a video that I did about a week ago, considering the game before last, where Shedeur really stepped up, and you saw him getting involved in blocking. You saw him running a little bit more, and you saw him helping the running backs out in the running game when we ran the ball. And he did this time too. And I have film on that as well, and I will show you the film on that here in just a few minutes. We'll go down that road together and celebrate him. Avery Johnson, another positive. Avery Johnson was supposed to be a problem for us from a running standpoint. Avery Johnson was not a running threat. He did score a touchdown running, which I guess you could say is the go-ahead touchdown for them, the reason why they won the game. If you wanted to say that, go right ahead. But at the same time, he could have run on us for 70, 80 yards, which a lot of quarterbacks that didn't run, meaning non-running quarterbacks, put 70, 80 on us. I mean, CSU, I could go down the list, right? But we held him to negative 15 yards. Now, Shedeur had, negative 50 yards or something, but when you're counting in sacks. But what I'm saying is that the defense did one of the two jobs that it had. Actually, it had three jobs, but the two big jobs, which was stop Avery Johnson and then also stop DJ Giddens, right? Well, we did one of the two. We stopped Avery Johnson from running, but we did not stop DJ, which we'll talk about in a second. We're still on positives, guys. We're still on positives, okay? Special teams. Special teams didn't hurt us. Now, I didn't say special teams were awesome, right? They have one really awesome. It was either a kick or it was a kick return that we nailed him down on the 15, which was really good play, right? But that was just one play. But what I mean is they didn't hurt us like they have in past games. That's a positive. Anything that doesn't hurt you in a game like this when you're playing a big opponent is a positive, because we don't want to beat ourselves, right? And the last one was penalties, 5 for 20. That's got to be one of the lowest that we've had in 2 years, guys. So some of them were kind of costly, but I don't think any of them cost us the game. Whereas I could say that on several games, especially last year, where specific, for instance, targeting penalties and big time penalties like that, blocking penalties on, or I should say holding penalties on prolific run plays, those kinds of things, or prolific pass plays. We didn't really have that this game. So not having a lot of penalties is a big plus for us. It didn't hurt us, and that's a good thing. So those are the positives. What do you guys have to say about the positives for this game? Throw them in the chat, and we'll go over them here in just a little bit. Now, negatives. Now, there aren't a lot of people on this live stream right now, so when people do come in, they're going to just be hearing the negative parts, but just make sure that everybody knows that I talked about the positives first. So negatives. 40 yards net rushing for the team. Now, that was with Shedeur's positive yardage. But if you just wanted to break out the running backs, we had like 21, 22 yards, which isn't going to be something that we can do again. I'm going to write that down right here. Okay. The things we think and do not say, do not do that again. Okay. I made a note right there. Put an asterisk next to it. Do not run for 22 yards as a total again. If we do that, we will lose again. Okay. Now, did we lose the game because of rushing? You could say we lost the game because of any one point, but I would say yes. K-State had the ball for 35 minutes of the game. That is the majority of the minutes, right? So that kept the ball out of Shador's hands and it kept our defense on the field. A defense that was weary from having to chase down the Easter Bunny running around in the backfield. And every time we went to go tackle him, he jumped. And then we went to go tackle him again, he jumped. I'm bringing you footage of that. I'm going to bring you that footage because that's the raw, dirty stuff that they're going to show in game film, okay, to the defense, so that they can get better with their tackling, right? We're going to go down that here in just a few minutes, okay? Easter Bunny. DJ Giddens is the Easter Bunny. It's way out of season, but that's what he looked like out there, man. Pop, hop, hop, bam, people hitting the dirt, people flipping over backwards. You know, I have to say, I don't know why DJ Giddens isn't, and he probably will be at some point listed in the Heisman race somewhere, maybe down low, because Genty is like a freaking awesome running back, right? I put DJ in that same. I don't know that I've seen a running back like him, and I don't even remember the last running back I've seen like him. Right? We're done talking about that. We're done talking about that. Actually, we're not, but we'll talk about it here in a minute. Dallin Hayden, 1.6 yards per carry. Isaiah, 3.3 yards per carry. Again, like I've said before, you can blame the running backs. I mean, there were the things we think and do not say. I have to keep putting that in my head. The things we think and do not say. I'm going to say those things because why not, right? We're fans. We want the team to get better. This isn't to break the team down. This is to say, hey, as fans, we notice this. I know you notice this too because you're coaches and you're a heck of a lot smarter about football than we are. But we're noticing and we need to see improvements on these areas. As a fan base, we want to keep buying tickets, right? That's what this whole thing is about. So did they miss holes? Did Dallin miss holes? That's where I was. The things we think and do not say. Dallin Hayden. Going into the season, Dallin was my number one guy. Love Charlie, love all the other running backs. But Dallin was the guy that was going to take us to the promised land. And so far this year, we have not seen him, I think, at his best. Now, is that Dallin or is that the offensive line? Is that the structure? I've talked about this before earlier in the year. I do a lot of rushing videos because I love the rushing game, right? And I'm saying don't blame the running backs. Don't wholly blame the running backs. And in this case, we know Dallin is a stud. We saw him at Ohio State as a stud. He hasn't changed since he's gotten here. He's still a stud. The scheme is wrong. And there are some obvious breakdowns in where the holes are lining up compared to where he thinks they're going to be. Something along those lines, right? I'm going to do a separate video on this. I didn't add that into the video that I'm going to show you here in a minute. But I'm going to do a separate video on the rushing game because for a minute we were getting better. And then we absolutely collapsed like we sat on a lawn chair made out of toothpicks. And we absolutely crushed anything that we had worked for going into this, right? That is a negative. So for those of you who are joining in the chat, rewatch this video because I had all the positives in the beginning. I'm not just jumping, beating CU up. Another bad, DJ Giddens, 182 yards, 7.3 yards per carry, which, by the way, guys, if you watched any of my videos going into this, I said, hey, Dallin, DJ Giddens has a 7.3 rushing average. That is weird. He had the same average with us. We didn't slow him down for a flipping moment. Not even for 1 minute did we slow him down. So good on him, man, to have people keying in on him like we did. And for him to still keep his average, crazy, crazy, crazy. 19 yards average in receiving, DJ did. That's 20 yards to me, Clark. I mean, that's 20 yards per catch. That's pretty crazy, right? Another bad, tackling. We have film review coming up. I'm going to show you the tackling, right? You saw it last night. I want you to see it in slow motion because these are the things that we think but do not say, but we're saying them here, right? We got to look at it. We got to look at the ugly because this is where we can get better. And if we can fix that, which we will, okay? Livingston is absolutely going to fix it this week. Then that's the only chance we have of getting back into this Big 12 game, okay? And we still can, but at the end, after the film review in this video, we're going to go through the Big 12 and I'm going to kind of show you it. A lot of people say, well, we're still in there. Okay. All right. Lots has to happen, right? It's not in our hands right now. We have to win every game from here on out. That's a given, right? And then other teams have to lose a whole lot of games. So we got to pray that they're going to lose it going into the rest of the season. And by the way, most of them play their own Big 12 opponents, and our Big 12 is kind of soft this year. So I'm just saying it's going to be hard, but we're going to go through that at the end here after the film review. But we're going to go through the tackling in film. And then last. The last thing for negative. I did a video about the Nebraska game against Illinois, not Colorado versus Nebraska, Illinois versus Nebraska, which was a couple of games after the Colorado-Nebraska game. And I titled it, I don't even remember what I titled it, something like Nebraska blew it, Nebraska threw it away, whatever, right? Do I care that Nebraska loses? No. I like football, and I like to see more than picking a team in most cases. I like to watch the game to where you get to the end, and I like a tight game, and then look and see whose coaching is going to win the game, whose coaching, whose players is going to win the game, which coach puts their teams in the best scenarios to win the game. Nebraska did the most stupid thing that you could possibly do against Illinois in that last drive. If you haven't seen that video, go back and look at it at some point. Just put it in your playlist or whatever and watch it later. It was a couple of weeks ago that I did. And I'm not going to go way down it, but basically it was time management. It was clock management. It was what Raiola did at the end of the game that cost Nebraska the game. Okay. This was very similar to that. Okay. The things we think and do not say. I'm going to say those things here, guys. Shedeur was an absolute freaking stud in this game, but football is a play-to-play scenario. You can play your absolute butt off in offense and defense and still lose the game because of a bad call or a bad formation or bad execution in a formation. In one play can cost you the entire game, right? And in this game, you can say any one of those mistakes that were made during the game, including the fact that we let DJ run over us like a Mack truck on fire in the movie Overdrive. You can say that if you want to, and that would be true. But for me, we had the ball with 1:50 left, and we owned it. We owned our destiny at that point, okay? Everything else that happened before the game, to me, big X in it. Big X. Okay. Things we have to learn for the next game. But for this game right now, it doesn't matter what happened the last play. You have this one play. You have 1:50. You know you can't give the ball back to KSU. They've proven that, right? And you can manage this ball. Okay. And we didn't. Okay. We're going to go through that. I'm going to show you that last series, and you be the judge for it right there. But we were in 10 personnel, I think, the entire time. Which gave Shedeur no extra blockers. And in the end, we only had 5 yards that we need to make for a first down to keep the clock running and then have an opportunity. I mean, really all we had to do was kick a field goal, guys, in order to go into overtime. And I know we want to win. And if I'm a coach, I want to win. I don't want to leave it to a field goal. But at the same time, you have safety. There's a safe zone there. It's a safe zone, right? It's not too terribly like, we just got to start throwing bombs down the field kind of thing, right? In my opinion, right? Because this is fired up. This is fired up Alpine. I'm fired up, not because I'm mad, because I thought CU played great in this game. And not because I'm mad because I think we flushed the season away, because absolutely not. We're 4-2. I'm happy with 4-2, right? But every game we have an opportunity to win. Every single game we have an opportunity to win. And in this game, we had an opportunity to win. So we're going to Sorry, guys. I think I might have lost you there for just a second. So now we're going to go to the video. All right, let's go. Let's add this in. Now, if you guys can't see this too well because I've got my screen split differently or whatever, let me know. Let me see if I can manage that a little bit here. Hey, look at that. I know how to work a computer. Look at that. Old Alpine knows how to work a computer. All right, here we go. So I'm going to start out with some good things, okay? And I didn't get this formation in there. Somebody throw up in the live chat if you can still hear me, because I had some pretty crazy things go on with my computer here. But we're going to go through this. Right now, we are in, if I can remember correctly, this was 12 personnel. So we had one running back, we had two tight ends in there. And that really kind of made, this was the touchdown that Isaiah had that Shadur did the tush push in. Is there anybody in the chat? This chat's so slow right now, guys. I'm sorry. But here we go. We're just going to roll through it. Let me get this thing going here. All right. So we've handed the ball off to Isaiah. He's following the tight end right up there to the right side. Okay. Not directly behind him, which, you know, Isaiah wanted to get to the ball. He wanted to get to that hole. So, bam, he gets stuffed right there. I say he's stuffed. He's still moving. But then Shadur comes up behind him, grabs onto that hiney, and puts all 200 and whatever, 15 pounds into his butt and drives him straight through the end zone. Just freaking, he did this in the last game too. And I absolutely love to see that. What a freaking stud of a play. Shadur can do it all. He can do it all. He wants to be involved. And when he wants to be involved in the game from a physical standpoint, he is a very physical quarterback. And I love to see that. I absolutely love to see that. Now we're going to move forward. Okay, now the next one. Okay, so this is Kansas State. Kansas State was in 11, I think they were in 12 personnel actually right there. And this is Dylan Edwards, right? Dylan Edwards gets the ball, or I'm sorry, this is a play fake. And then, why am I showing you this one? Let me see. Oh, here it is. So now we're going to get into decisions in the secondary, okay? So let's go back here just a little bit, all right? So Johnson, let's go with the ball. Look at Shiloh up here in the corner. Now, keep in mind that this is Sunday morning quarterback, Sunday morning defensive back coach, you know? So take this with a grain of salt. But when I'm looking at this, Shiloh has a bead. He can be straight on that receiver, right? But it almost looked like before he even got there that he was kind of playing the interception, because the receiver had to really get up to get this ball. It looked like it was overthrown. I thought from the stands that it was going to be overthrown. And the receiver does a great job of going up and getting it. But in trying to get that pick instead of playing the receiver right there, Shiloh overruns him just enough to where the receiver passes him directly by, gets the first, and then into the final level where we finally put him to the ground, right? Kind of a push tackle kind of thing there. McKinnon got him on that last part. And I wanted to show you that there's several in a row here from a tackling perspective. So take a look at that, okay? And then watch this. So you got Giddens here. Giddens is following, okay? Anytime you hear me yell and scream for multiple personnel is because look at Kansas State here. So they are in what looks like a 12 personnel. It actually could be a 21 personnel, depending on whether that's a running back down there or not. But in any case, there's two blockers coming in, right? Giddens follows his tight end through that hole. The line is doing just a fantastic job of manhandling our guys, right? He follows that tight end through the hole. The tight end is able to make contact with a linebacker, right? Giddens does the rest. He goes right through the tackle, right? Now that was enough. That was enough to kind of slow him down and allow him to fall. But here's football play, not football play. This is Shiloh coming up for the hit, right? Look at that right there. Right there. What I'm saying is we were lucky that we didn't get a penalty on that play. Okay? I'm probably going to get roasted in the comments for this, but the last game that Shiloh played, we got a personal foul for a play very similar to this right here. In my personal opinion, this is a football play, meaning that we are trying to keep him from getting the first down. So we're going to put every effort into stopping this guy, right? But there was some contact there that was a little bit more than you would think, and we were just lucky that we got away with that one. So I'm just going to say that. Now here we are again. We've got our friend DJ the Bunny Rabbit hopping around. His cut right there just absolutely jukes Shiloh, and Shiloh goes right to his knees, right, and takes out another. He takes out Bentley there, and then we struggle to get him down there, right? This guy manages to stay on his feet and still going. McKinnon comes off the block and is able to grab that shoelace right there. Bam, got him by a shoelace. I mean, if he hadn't made that move, we would have been in for another touchdown right there. All right. So more tackling woes. Here we are again. Who's this? He's our friend DJ Giddens, because he's roasted us, and I wanted to take a look at tackling because we knew everybody was yelling and screaming about Shiloh in the post game, and I knew that Shiloh hadn't played a great game, but I wanted to see the film to see how poorly our tackling was just as a group. And again, here's Giddens. Okay, let's back this all the way up. All right. Giant hole, tight ends. What are we talking about? More tight ends? Tight ends in the running game, right? Right there, he takes out Cam. That tight end does. Leaves a giant hole. There's a hold right there, by the way. Number 80 held right there. So the Kansas State got away with a hold. That should have been called. And actually, I want to say that, no, 71 didn't hold. Anyway, Giddens in the back, and then watch this cut. Bam! Shiloh was square. He didn't have a full head of steam. But even though they made that small juke, it just stunted Shiloh to the point where he couldn't even get on him. Now, he ended up helping make this tackle at the end. You'll see we slowed him down. Shiloh came in, cleaned it up. All right? And so that's another example right there. Now let's get to one more. I think I just have one more. I know I'm probably beating a dead horse here. But I wanted to see this, and so I made a reel, and I thought, you know what, I'll show you. So here comes Green off the edge. Giddens has the ball. Green must not have seen that. Or no, he did see it, but it was too late. He comes back thinking that Avery has it. But we would have stopped him there if we hadn't second guessed that, right? Then Giddens hits the hole. Bam. Here comes. This is the one I wanted to show you. So Shiloh, in typical Shiloh fashion, right? The things we think and do not say. I have to keep telling myself that. All right, I'm going to say them. Shiloh, in typical fashion, he's becoming a dart at this point, right? He's just going to hit him down. But he forgets that Giddens is over 200 pounds and has legs like springs, and he can absorb hits. So what does Giddens do? He absorbs the hit, does a little spin, and drives another CU defender all the way past the first line, which was Cam. And we finally got him on the ground. So this is a 50-50. This is a Giddens being a stud, right? Here's another, nope. Giddens being a stud, and us not knowing that he was going to be a stud and that we needed to really kind of, we needed to take him down. We needed to wrap him up. He kind of reminds me a lot of the way that that Brandon Hood and Micah Welch run. Real high legs, real springy feet. He runs very similar to them, but you know, on a completely different level. Giddens has got a lot going on here. Now, I'm going to stop here for just a second. I've got this right here that you're seeing on the screen right now is the last series of the game, which is what I think is something that we need to look at, right? So we're going to come directly back to that. Let me get back on full screen here so that y'all can see my lovely face again. and talk about the tackling. Let me look at some of your comments in there. Agreed. Worst coaching performance this year. Too much man defense, especially with the lead in the fourth quarter. I agree with those. Shiloh's tackles were hard to watch. He is not ready. Jay Boogie says Shiloh forgot how to play football. They're tough, man. The things we think and do not say, right? Say them, guys. Let's say them, because we're not saying that this team is trash or any of these players are terrible, because that's not true. It's just that we have games that aren't our best games, and we learn from those games, and then we can react to that going forward, right? But this was a very prolific reason why we lost this game. Okay, the tackling. If we had made 30% of those tackles, it would be a different story this morning. 100%. If we had made 30% of those tackles that we missed, we would be talking about something different today. Prime should have played the same secondary against UCF instead of trying to feature his son, who is trash. Burl, the things you think and cannot say. Burl doesn't know that. Burl says what he thinks. Burl's pretty straight to the point. I don't know that I agree with that Burl. Shiloh going into this, I personally myself said I wanted Shiloh to play because Shiloh was a difference maker from a tackling perspective. And we needed to show DJ Giddens, and I think I specifically said this exactly. We needed to show DJ Giddens who is boss and put him on the ground a few times to slow him down. I specifically said that. The problem was we didn't do that, right? So should we have played a different set of safeties mix? Should we have changed it mid? Probably, yeah, right? We should have made an adjustment. I think we should have made an adjustment, is fair to say. Shiloh's lack of technique was exposed, or he is playing scared, post-surgery, not ready. Could be. He could have been worried. I mean, wrapping people up, I've heard this from a lot of people. In fact, I don't even want to say this. The things you think and do not say. Did Coach Prime at one time, back when he was prime time, didn't he say one time, I remember this, I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm a huge Deion Sanders fan from back to FSU, jerseys and everything. But I'm one of the biggest Dallas Cowboy fans you will meet in your lifetime. And I loved it when he went to Dallas, even though I was worried about the team thing going away, because we had a really good team thing going on with Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman and Novacek and all this thing, and then to have somebody like Deion Sanders come in, and I was afraid it would mess with the chemistry, but it didn't, and we ended up doing extremely well. I don't even know where I was going with that, but in any case, oh yeah, I do. He said that at one point it came up in the Dallas media that Deion Sanders was afraid to form tackle because of arm damage and shoulder damage and stuff like that. But I don't think it was necessarily true. I saw him tackle plenty good. And I think that Shiloh's got that rap too sometimes. I think sometimes people think, and sometimes we show on video, that he likes to just try to blow people off their feet. And some people just won't be blown off their feet. Some people want you to do that because they'll lift up in their stance, they'll let you hit them, they'll drop back down to their feet, and they'll keep going. And that's what Giddens did for us. Exactly what Jay Boogie said, exactly why change what works. Brian C. said, Alpine, we need some recoup time. Can we win out and still keep hopes for the Big 12 title? It's up to the coaches and players. We control it. We're going to go through that here in a second, Brian. Okay, we're going to go through the Big 12 and what I think needs to happen here, okay? I'm going to get to some of these other comments, but I know you guys came here hopefully for game film because I love game film. So let's get back to that. And I want to show you the last play of the game right here. Actually, not the last play of the game, but the last series of the game. So we're going to go back over here. Now, this right here is where it was right after Shedeur got sacked, and it was like, third and forever, right? And Shedeur gets in there. Hang on a second, guys. All right, Shedeur gets in there. We are in 10 personnel right there, okay? So we only have one blocking back, and it's Isaiah, so he's a big back, right? Well, he's not going to block, right? We want him. Actually, he is going to block. I'm sorry. And we get the pass off. Oh wait, no. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. We're still in the oopsie stage. Yeah, so this is the big thing we were talking about. Shedeur had one of the best games he's had this year, the second best game from a QBR standpoint. But this hurt a lot. So this play, we had good blocking, not a ton of pressure. Okay. Shedeur throws it over the head of, I want to say that is, can't remember who that was now. Oh, yeah. The freshman overthrows the freshman pretty considerably. Now, what caused this? Why would Shedeur just be throwing that ball over the head because he had pressure? There was some pressure, but it wasn't like crazy pressure. But it looked to me like maybe Draylon Miller, who was the receiver there, maybe there was a miscommunication there, and Draylon or Shedeur thought that he wasn't going to run such a flat route, and maybe he was going to angle it a little bit more. It's possible that he just misidentified the route with all that congestion right over the top there too. But in any case, that was a big pick because that could have been a touchdown because Draylon was open right there. He was open right there. That would have been a tutty, and we would have got it. But that's not that didn't happen, right? So here's that play in the last series of the game. Okay, and I'm sorry guys, I didn't get this from the beginning here, but we were in 10 personnel, and it was Dallin Hayden in the backfield. Dallin goes out for a halfback pass, and I love this play. I absolutely freaking love this play. This is the play that I've been calling for all season on a regular basis, and we don't do it. Anytime we throw to the halfback, we complete that, and the halfback gets yards after the hit every single time. If it's Charlie, he's catching it, getting extra yards. If it's Dallin, he's catching it, getting extra yards. Okay? I'm telling you, it works, and it worked here. Here we are. We get the ball. We not get a lot after the catch. Okay? Was there a little bit left on that apple? Probably not. Not without changing direction. But we got within 5 yards on a pretty hard 3rd and long, right? So now we're only 5 yards away. There's a minute and 25 seconds left in the game. So nothing huge, right? It's not freak out time or anything like that. We're on our own 30-yard line and with lots of time on the clock. My call here and what I was hoping for is that we would be in a different personnel set where we would have tight ends in there, because this is prime real estate for tight end play. Prime real estate for tight end play. And we also have Dallin Hayden, which we know can catch the ball, right? You do an 11 personnel in here. You still have 3 wide receivers. And right now we're at this point in this game, we're down all of our top wide receivers, okay? So when you're talking about 11 personnel at this point, it's perfect for this scenario, in my opinion. In my lowly opinion, it's perfect because then you give us an option down low, okay? You can take off one of these. They only lined up 3 people on the line, right? So it's possible that we could have broken out one of the tight ends over here to get that. All we needed was 6 yards, okay? We needed 6 yards. So here we go, and this is where I'm saying that we thought that the secondary for Kansas State was not going to be able to hold up to what we do. At the end of the game, everybody's butt is whooped, right? Kansas State is huffing and puffing. They're on oxygen on the sidelines. It's late, man. Everybody, for those guys, it's like 1:15 in the morning, right, for Kansas State because they're in the Central Time Zone. I mean, they're just dog tired, man. And yet, I think we were thinking that was going to be a positive for us, right? Shedeur goes back to pass. The pocket is pretty good there, right? Dallin is set to block right there when he could have been out in the flat or something, right? Or maybe even a slant up the middle, a dig or something like that. Look at that hole. I'm going to put my cursor on it. Look at this right here, guys. Look at this giant hole right here, right? Now, they had 4 people lined up in the linebacker position right there. So if Dallin had run out to the flat, obviously 1 or 2 of them would have stayed. So I'm not pretending like that wouldn't have happened. But we would have had somebody in this zone right here, right? Which is where I think we needed to be. We needed to be here. 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 One of these receivers to get this 5 yards, get this pass off quickly so that the pocket doesn't crash, right? But if you look at these routes that the receivers are running, they're really bland routes. Like there wasn't a lot of slants. It's kind of out and back and a button hook, that kind of thing. There's a little bit of a slant right here. This was an out route. So then now let's watch this. Going a little bit further, right? These receivers are all locked up. Look at this. Locked tight, right? We know down here that they're locked tight because we see that here in a minute, okay? A little bit of holding right there, okay? It wasn't called. Ref's not even looking at it, right? I want to say there's even a little bit of holding right there too. But, that's water under the bridge. Can't do anything about that. But my preference here would have been A, to not even be in this formation to start with. But B, if I'm throwing the ball, right, or I want the ball to be thrown, this right here and this right here look pretty darn good. When you start to look at the ball on this go route, he's tied up. It looks pretty good. People are going to say that this is interference, and it could be because he's got his arm right there on Shepard, but his head is turned towards the ball. And I think that's what the refs are seeing, is that he's playing the ball in that. And so therefore it's a 50-50. And it just happens to land right on the receiver's helmet. So it's just bad luck, really. I mean, Shepard's a tall dude. If that ball was a little higher, just a little higher, Shepard would have probably been able to snatch that thing out of the air. But it's just that, could Shedeur have known that he needed to throw it higher? I don't know. Maybe he was worried about this guy over the top here and an interception. Maybe it was just the fact that the pressure was getting to him in the pocket, which it was here towards the end, right about there. Actually, no. I thought this tackle right here was coming in on him, but he had a pretty clean pocket. Our guys did a great job for Shedeur on that play. I mean, that was great protection for Shedeur. But when we have a 4th and 5, and we have a minute and 20 seconds left, I feel like we're going all the way back to the UCF game, and we're trying to win it on the last play, and that bothers me. And this is what I'm saying about clock management. Clock management. Let me get back to my full screen here. Clock management for me as a fan, it's not sexy. It's absolutely not sexy. I pay $250 for a ticket to see you now, let's say, right? Which is how much these tickets cost on average now. And I want to see touchdowns, and I want to see acrobatic catches and, these kind of things. No, I want to see solid play and winning the game. And all that other stuff is going to come with our Colorado Buffaloes because we have dynamic players, right? But at some point we have to, similar to that video I did, on Nebraska a few weeks ago about how Nebraska basically gave the game away against Illinois when they could have won it by making a really bad decision on the last play of the game when they still had plenty of time left. They've been showing they can control the ball. The offensive line was showing that they could do what they needed to do, but he saw what he thought was a home run, and Riola threw the ball, and he just threw the ball wrong, and the receiver had no way of catching that ball. Boom! Nebraska loses to Illinois, and they were having a great season up until that point, right? I feel like that in this case. I feel like we had more opportunity in that entire drive, okay? Because we didn't even look at the 2 other downs that basically we just gave away, right? We just looked at the one on 3rd down, which ate up most of what the sack lost us, and then put us in really good position to do a dink and dunk kind of thing and get 5 yards out of this thing and keep the clock rolling and keep it moving. and maybe get to the point where you have 45, 35, 40 seconds left in the game. You can, with the accuracy of Shedeur, throw a couple of times into the end zone to see if maybe we can post a touchdown and just kill this game, or put it in Mata's hands with a 35, 40-yard field goal and win the game, right? So that's the traditionalist that I am, and I'm not on the field, and I'm not saying they did a bad job. I'm just saying that this is an opportunity that when we see things like this, it just comes to mind. And so I wanted to bring it to you. Throw it up in the chat. Do you guys think I'm completely off of my rocker, even bringing this up right now? Or is anything that I'm saying resonating with the fan base? I'm going to go through here with some more of the chat just for a second, and then we're going to dive into the Big 12, and then we're going to be done, guys. So hang in there with me. How many people do we have in the chat right now? I don't even know at this point. It looks like we have 88 people in here. Thank you very much, guys. If you guys haven't already subscribed, I'm like that close to 7,000. I didn't even look to see if maybe I'm at 7,000. Nope, not at 7,000 yet, but in fact, I'm about 9 away. So if any of you can check your, slide over the chat, look and see if you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed for me, I would appreciate it. I want to see if I can get 7,000 finally. I don't post a lot, and it's my deal, but I really like doing this, guys. I really like hanging out with you. So let's go through here some chats. Shiloh messed up the rhythm of the defense. He should not be starting. Shiloh is a good player, guys. He really is. This was not his game. We should have probably seen it early and pulled him, or I should say maybe mixed it up a little bit. Pulling is a rough word, but he is a division. He is a premium Division I player in my opinion. Just needs to work on his game a little bit. We are who we are. It's hard to watch and frustrating during the game sometimes. Yeah, but for every time something bad like this happens, something good like what happened in UCF, and Shedeur is able to pull it out for us on a win. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm pinning this on Shedeur. I'm just talking about the game plan in general in those last drives. We have more opportunity with the roster that we have. We just have not explored it at all this year, or barely explored it this year. And I think when we start losing the tree of receivers that has brought us here, those are the times that we should then kick back and say, hey, you know what? Traditional football is something that could win us games. Let's try that for a little bit and see what that does for us. That's all I'm saying. Why cover 0 on the last touchdown? Yeah, I don't know. We didn't go over that drive because here's the reason why I didn't go over the Kansas State drive to put them ahead, is because I already knew they could do that. You knew they could do that. Everybody in the world knew that they could do that. Our team knew that they could do that. And then they went and did it, right? So our coverage was not good in there in that. We didn't pressure the quarterback at all, hardly at all in that. It was just a really bad drive. I felt like we were getting close, and so we kind of let up a little bit on defense. I don't want to say that was the thing, but it almost felt that way a little bit. Any news on the injured players? The only thing I know, Freddie, about injured players is that Omarion has a broken leg, from what I hear. And a broken leg midseason, it doesn't look good for him for the season right now. And that's really tough for us because he's a fantastic player. From what I know, Travis is a shoulder injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out yet. I'm sure we'll know a lot more by Monday or Tuesday. And then, half of our wide receivers are out. Terrell's out. Don't know with what yet. I want to say it was a high ankle sprain or something like that. There were a couple of sprains that were in there for a couple of our guys. We are who we are. Yes. O. Miller is awesome. Losing him for the season is a big loss. I agree 100%. We still do have some really good receivers, but this is our opportunity to get away from 10 personnel for a while, folks. We need to get away from it. And the reason why I say that isn't because I'm going to adjust my hat here because I'm losing. I got my brand new 7 panel that I haven't even put my new patch on yet. And I need to adjust it. But
This is an opportunity for us to try some different personnel packages and get the running game going again, get the tight ends going again. We have good tight ends, okay? Unproven tight ends, because we have not proved them yet. Let's prove them. Let's prove them. Let's get this going. When we're passing to a tight end this year, which has been like that many times, right? Like 2 or 3 times, they've caught the ball. When we throw to the running backs, they catch the ball. When we're eating up 5 and 7 yards at a time, we're eating clock. We're managing time, right? We're wearing down defenses. We're making them think, what now? What are they going to throw at us now? Kind of like Kansas State did with their multiple personnel groups. Who's going to get the ball this time? Who's going to get the ball this time? You know, I want someone to say, man, that Sam Hart, we did not expect him to come out and tear us in half like Michael Harrison did last year with a couple of teams, right? The Nebraska game. Holy crap, right? No one expected Harrison to go off like that. No one expected Harrison to win the freaking game, right? That wasn't the Nebraska game. That was one of those games. Anyway, what I'm saying is that Michael Harrison came out and just dominated one of those games and won it for us in overtime. And no one expected him to do it. Like, everybody on their team was like, what the heck, man? I didn't think that CU even had tight ends. And we didn't. We had wide receivers converted to tight ends. This year, they're like, I don't think, the only tight end I know is Sam Hart. He came from OSU. He could be a problem, but Colorado's not going to play him. The things we think and do not say, right? That's the name of this video. Why do we have world-class tight ends and we don't use them, right? Now's the time. Now is the time. Now is the time. We have a lot of people out. We have a lot of people we could use. Let's just freaking mess this thing up, man. Let's give it some bedhead. Let's put some goo in there and give it some bedhead. And when we go into Arizona, just completely light them up on all phases of our offense. Just all phases. And let's get the defense back to where we knew they were in the last game, the game before last, right? And if we do those two things, blowing it up. We got to win every game from here on out if we have any Big 12 title aspirations. Every game. We can't miss, can't lose one game. Can't lose a single game. It's over. No more losing, guys. No more losing. All right. Let's see. You're on point. Does the team, let's see, you're on point, but does the team do that Alpine? I'm sorry, Brian. I don't know what you're alluding to. I think I'm late in the chat probably. Omarion Miller is an elite wide receiver. I agree. Shiloh messed up the rhythm. We already went through that one. Time of possession was a huge part in the Bama loss to Vandy. That's right, because Vandy had 42 minutes of time of possession. Like, that is a crime. If you're Alabama and Kalen DeBoer, that is an absolute crime that you gave them the ball for 42 minutes. Your offense is awesome, right? Jalen Milroe is a freaking stud, right? One of the best quarterbacks in Alabama in the last 5 years, let's say, right? I believe that. I really do. But you can't give another team the opportunity to take that much time. And we did that. We did that in this game. And it was one of the time of possession on every single pregame I do. It's TOP, 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 TOP. Let's say it together. Time of possession. We can absolutely light up a scoreboard with our wide receivers, right? We know that. Shedeur can pass the ball. Our wide receivers can catch the ball 85%. We can throw the ball up for grabs, and we're going to catch that ball like 85% of the time, obviously, right? But then we give the ball right back to a team like KSU, who then bleeds it and bleeds it and bleeds it. Their first series was like 8.5 minutes. Like, it was like, come on, dude. You know, can we have the ball back, please? KSU, can you please give us the ball back? Because we weren't taking it back at that time in the game. We weren't taking it back. We were going to wait for them to score so we get the ball back. And then if we do what we normally do, we quick strike, 2.5 minutes, score, and then we get the ball right back to them and they bleed it again, right? Making our defense rep after rep after rep after rep after rep. And although we do have a lot of good depth, and I love our depth, and really that's what's kept us in a lot of these games is the depth and our willingness to flip people out, right? it will wear you out. It will wear our team out. It will wear us out at home. It'll wear us out anywhere, and we can't let that happen. So Jamila, that's a really good point. Clock magic means runs the ball. That's right, and it doesn't necessarily. I agree with that statement, 100%. But it also means short passes to the tight end and the running backs, maybe even a jet sweep. Those kinds of things, which we don't do a lot of. Those are very high percentage passes, very low percentage of the ball hitting the ground. What we want to do is not let the ball hit the ground. So I would be happy if we didn't run it 30 times a game, if we ran it 22 times a game, and then we had 8 to 12 passes that were to running backs and tight ends or receivers in short routes, just so that we could get, and I say this tongue in cheek, higher percentage of passes caught, 85%. You can't get better than that, honestly. You can't. So tongue in cheek, right? But there were 2 games where Shedeur was at 60% completion. Did you know that? That's right, 2 games, 60.1 and 60.3, right? Those are the games where that short game really comes into play, and it bleeds the clock. I notice CU doesn't get any real flags. True. Yeah, we had good. We only had 5 penalties in this game for 20 yards. I mean, we played a clean game, which is one of the reasons why we stuck in this game, is because we didn't really screw it up for ourselves too much, other than the fact that we didn't tackle. And I don't think we played that last series as good as we could have. Put it that way. Now let's get to the Big 12 real quick. The Big 12. The Big 12, what are our chances in the Big 12 right now? Okay, we needed to win Kansas State in order to really be that solid top echelon and to have a really great opportunity to make it to the Big 12 championship. Now that we've lost to K-State, we have teams that are 3-0 in conference play, which are BYU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech are all 3-0. And then we have KSU with a tiebreaker on us. So just short math says we need every one of those teams, BYU, ISU, or actually 2 of those 3 teams, BYU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech, to lose a game, right? They need to lose at least 1 game in conference play. We need to beat Texas Tech, because of those 3 teams, Texas Tech is the only team that we play in the regular season on that list. So we can't go and beat all 3 teams, for instance, which would be a great scenario. Like, that would be the best scenario of all time, is the fact that we get to play those 3 teams. And, it would be hard. Yes, I agree. But that would have been a very easy way to win the Big 12 nod to get into the Big 12, is to beat those teams, right? So, or at least beat 2 of those 3 teams. Is really all we needed to do, right? But now we need to beat Texas Tech 100%. We need to win every game, okay? We need to win every game. Stop with the we need to win against Texas Tech. We need to win every game. But Texas Tech is the only team we can take down. BYU and Iowa State have got to lose it on their own. Somebody else has got to go up there and punch them in the face, right? 5 teams at 2-1. KSU has the tiebreaker over us, but they also play Iowa State on November 30th. So if KSU keeps rolling, okay, they lose another game somewhere in between, and then they beat Iowa State, and we beat Texas Tech, and BYU doesn't lose any games, we stand a chance of getting into that Big 12 championship. Doesn't mean we will, because a lot of other things have to happen with all those other 2-1 teams out there. And we're going to have the tiebreaker over a lot of those teams too if they continue to play well. But keep in mind, we're in conference play, so everybody's eating everybody right now. So, and the way that it looks, I think Texas Tech is going to lose to Colorado, and the reason why I'm saying that is because we have to, right? Iowa State could lose to Kansas State. If Kansas State really brings what they brought to us, I think they could beat Iowa State. BYU, to me, looks like it has probably the most favorable schedule to being who they are, to run the slate and be undefeated in Big 12 play. So we do stand a chance. It's a very slim chance, but we do stand a chance. The only thing that we can do is win every game from here on out. It's the only thing that we can do. So whether everybody else loses is on them, and we can hope and pray and wish and whatever we need to do to get those other teams to lose. but we've got to win every game from here on. If we lose another game, you can pretty much just write it off at that point. That's probably a little premature, but I don't think so. I think that's probably where we're at. So let me see some more comments in there about Big 12. If you guys have any about Big 12. How did number 24 not make the tackle on the K-State touchdown? I know. Pro tackling. It wasn't just Shiloh. Everybody was roasting Shiloh, but NHG. Okay. I didn't point it out in these videos, but go back and look at it again. NHG missed a ton of tackles. He made some really spectacular tackles, right? I think he even had a sack to his credit, at least one. But he missed a lot of tackles too. But it wasn't just those guys. Giddens is the real thing, man. He is a bunny rabbit in the backfield. I'm not going to say Barry Sanders because I think that's too high a praise for Giddens. But at the same time, he's got a different thing though. Like Barry didn't jump as much. He was real low to the ground and smooth around his tackles. Giddens jumps through every tackle, man. And it's not even smooth. Like it's not like suave. He's not like Rico Suave in the backfield. He just makes a damn quick cut. Like he'll make a freaking, it's like, golly, dude. Amazing that he is as crisp as he is without being super crisp. Can't even explain it. On natural turf too. So it was on grass, which really blows me away. Like their equipment managers, man, I got to give a nod right here. I'm going to give a nod to KSU's equipment managers on that because I didn't see him slide or slip once, man. Every single time he planted his cleat, he was dead on. All right, that's all I'm going to say about Giddens. K-State BS West Virginia beats West Virginia. Versus. Okay, K-State versus West Virginia is going to be a tough, but I think K-State can squeak that out. I'm not really worried about West Virginia for K-State. I hope West Virginia beats K-State. That would be a great game for K-State to lose and then win against Ohio State or Iowa State. We play clean through the rest of it, and then we've got the tiebreaker at that point, or there is no tiebreaker or whatever that is, right? So I'm going to be watching that Virginia K-State game and putting everything on Virginia because that's how I do it. I think West Virginia beats K-State next week. Good. I'm glad you guys say that. Maybe they're coming off a high. K-State's a little high in the saddle right now, and they're going to go in there and get beat. Let's see what else we have here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Next step is to focus on Arizona. Go squeak out a win. Yeah, we'll break down Arizona. I am less afraid of Arizona than I was of K-State, even though we have to feed in there. We've done it before, do it again. So I'm not real too terribly worried about that. But it's those games that are probably some of the toughest, especially after a loss like the one that we had, real close loss. I'm trying to figure out. I'm going backwards here, guys. Let me get to this real quick. Who should be starting at right tackle? What happened to the offensive tackle Tyler Johnson and the dog from Houston? I really didn't get into the offensive line play too much, except for what I saw outside of 6 sacks, right? I didn't think they played poorly in this game, guys. I really didn't. Roast me. They opened up holes for the running backs, which the running backs then missed. Maybe the holes weren't open where they thought they were going to be. I have to go through there. We're going to do a running back video later, and we're going to look at the line and we're going to look at that. But you saw the protection on that last play. He was protected pretty well. A lot of those sacks came from holding the ball, in my opinion, holding the ball too long, and also trying to run out of the tackles, which is really cool to look at until you get sacked for a 20-yard loss. So we got to work on that a little bit. I'm sure that's going to be part of this week's game plan coming up. Caleb Mathis should have gotten the game. He's really good. You know, this would be a game where if I saw Caleb Mathis go in there, I wouldn't be hurt. He is a scrapper. He kind of reminds me a lot of Charlie. I mean, these guys come in. There's not a lot of hype on them. They're really hard workers. They have good hands. They make good decisions. And when you put him in, you know, can he play an entire game? I don't know. Maybe he can. But if he came in for a play or two and we keyed on him, heck yeah, man, bring it. I'd love to see what Caleb can do in a game like that, or a game like what we just played here. Everything was against the team. Lose your best player and other receivers sacked 1,000 times. Can't run the ball. What do we know? We're ahead 28-24. Unbelievable. I know. That was well summed up, DeAndre. That was well summed up. I predicted 10 personnel equals 5 sacks, and basement. You got that. And you got one on top of that too. The cherry is the 6th sack. I agree 100%. But the reason why in this case I want to go to 12 personnel, 11 and 12 personnel, 21 personnel isn't for extra blocking. It's not. Whoa! What are you saying, Chris? What are you saying, Alpine? Why are you saying you want those and you don't want it for blocking? In some cases, you need it for blocking. I want it just for a different, just to get us some new players on the field to catch and run the ball. That's what I want. When you're doing a 21 personnel, for instance, where you have 2 running backs and one tight end, one of your running backs can be a blocker. One of your tight ends and the other running back can be receivers, right? Or can be play action, right? You can play action. You can hit your tight end. There's a whole lot of things that you can do with a 21 personnel. 11 personnel, obviously you guys know that. That's one running back, one tight end. And there's a whole lot that you can do there. 2 extra blockers. You can have the tight end block, and you can have the running back go out for a pass, or they can run the ball. The running back can be the blocker, and the tight end can go out, can get a real good chip block, and then just do a real quick crossover for 3 to 5 yards. Last play of the game. That's what I'm talking about right there, 11 personnel. And then you're talking 12 personnel, which is 1 running back and 2 tight ends, which we have done in the past occasionally here and there. We've dinked and dunked on it. And that's typically going to be 1 blocker, 1 goes out for a pass, and then you can RPO that if you want to. So there's a whole lot of options there that you can do with these multiple personnel groups. So yeah, 10 personnel. I've never seen it so much in college football, at least not since the early 2000s, probably Texas Tech and those. But that's where we are. Yeah, you can't play man 90% of the snaps. This team is better than 4-2, definitely 5-1. They have to prove it though. They're right, no more losing. Yeah. So anybody who predicted us to go 11-1 just wasn't doing the math. Anybody who predicted us going 10-2 wasn't doing the math. People who are picking us to go 9-3 or 8-4, I think that's a solid place to be. I think that was solid early in the year before we ever played a game. But it's really hard in the new wave of college football. God, I got to do a video on that again. I did a video on that last year. In the new age of college football, it is going to be really, really hard to take a group of all brand new people, which is basically what's going to be happening now, right? More and more and more. And hopefully this NCAA paying players, the school paying players might help retention a little bit. And we'll go down that later. But in any case, in the new age, it's really hard for a team to go from nothing to 10, 11, 12 wins in a year. It's going to be really hard. Like you have to have the best coaching in the country to be able to pull that off. It's going to be a bunch of scrapping, and you're going to see less teams go through an entire season with 0 losses. I think going forward, I think you're going to be playing championships with 1 and 2 lost teams in some cases. I don't know. That's weird to say, and it has happened before, but anyway, so that's what I'm saying. So it's getting pretty late here, guys. I'm going to do a couple more here. Again, if you guys haven't already subscribed, I really appreciate it. I've not really done a lot this year compared to last year. Last year, after a great start, did 50, 60 videos last year. And this year, I took a hiatus for about 5 months, and then came into this late. And so I'm trying to play catch up again. And I really like doing this. This is a lot of fun with you guys. I do it as a hobby. I have a career that I'm not going to leave. I just want to have fun with you guys. And and make it meaningful for everybody. I want to produce better content with more film, and more breakdowns and more stats and more weird stats that you'd never think that would be important to football, and looking at trends and looking at how this new age of college football is going to change the University of Colorado, which it already has, and change the rest of college football, and how that's going to play out for us in the future. Because right now we're trying to build a program, and I think we're doing a good job of it at this point. We have some hurdles to get over, and we have to learn this new system, but I think we're going to get there. I think we spelled a lot of that out in this video. Harrison was an awesome surprise. Shallow should have been pulled out of the game. I agree. I'm going to go to the end here and see some of these last ones here. Bipolar punt. I have not brought you up in this yet. So I'm gonna let me scroll through this real quick, guys. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves in the chat. But for whatever reason, my software that I use for my live streams now does not highlight super chats, and I've missed some super chats. So if you super chatted me in the past and I didn't call you out, I very much apologize. I'm working on that with the software to try to be able to better highlight it. So I have to go through my phone every once in a while and make sure that there aren't any in there so I don't miss you. And so I just wanted to take time to say that. Bipolar punt says, bipolar punt, sorry. Let me get bipolar punt in here. Bipolar punt. I don't know if that's for me or not. I'll let you come back in the chat and tell me. We scored too quick and left too much time on the clock. Sid, that's what I was talking about. Is when we intercepted the ball, and who was that? That was Colton. That was Colton Hood that intercepted the ball and ran down the field, and he fell. Right, he tripped, and everybody around me was like, "Oh my gosh, we almost scored a touchdown! That would have been a pick six." And I'm like, "Guys, everybody settle down. We wanted this to happen, right? I mean, I wanted Colton Hood to get a touchdown. Don't get me wrong. I want that dude to get a touchdown. I love that dude. But at the same time, we need to slow this game down a little bit, man. It's exactly like I was saying before this game ever started, that it could be a bang, 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 like a ping pong match. And when that happens, it's really hard to have control of the game. And you got to have control of the game. If you're going to be like, I hope we have it on the last play, you're going to lose a lot of games, right? If you plan to have it on the last play, you win more games. So when he fell, at that point, I was like, awesome, right? We're going to slow this game down a little bit, burn some clock off. We don't want to give it back to KSU with too much time left. And then we scored immediately, which, I'm never going to say, man, I didn't want to score. But at the same time, bleeding that clock would have been nice. So, yes. Jimmy is overrated. Omarion is better. Henry, I don't agree with that statement. I respect your opinion. Omarion is very freaking good. But I think Jimmy is just as good. He's shown a lot of light this year. And not having him is going to definitely hurt. Both of not having either of them sucks, right? I'm just going to say, get dirty here and say sucks. I love this live, very engaging and thoughtful. The best one this year from you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm feeling a little saucy today. Like last night, that wrap up that I did after the game, man, I was tired. I didn't even have my right mind going. I couldn't even remember how many conference losses we had. It was terrible. And I didn't get home until 3 o'clock in the morning this morning. Traffic getting out was the worst I've ever seen it, ever seen it. It was terrible. People mad, like wanting to fight each other. It's blah. I'm glad we're out of that game. And we're moving on to the next one. The pregame before that, the best sunset I have ever seen at Folsom, ever, was in my live yesterday pregame. If you haven't seen that, it's the Buff Walk. And then I walk around outside on campus, show you some tailgates, and then we go over to there's like a fan zone that they have there. It's pretty cool. And when we were there, the famous Colorado Crimson Sunset hit, and I got really good video of it. So go back and watch that. I may actually pull that out and do another video on it just so you guys can see that. Jimmy, last 4 games, 41 yards, 40, 26, 22, 0 TDs, not counting KSU. Yep. But he had a lot of contributions in that, Henry. He did. Even though he's not putting up a lot of numbers, the ball has to be thrown to him, right? Let's see. Love your show. Shake hands with Destiny. Thank you very much. Sorry, last 4, Jimmy. Jimmy has 96 yards, 24 yards. Yes. Henry, we know that you're not a huge Jimmy fan. But we're going to get Jimmy back before we get Omarion back. So very important that Jimmy comes back. They suck. I say it all the time. Jamila, the film breakdown was a great addition. I appreciate that. Arizona right now is a 4-point favorite. I think this will be a shootout. I can't fathom why Arizona is a 4-point favorite in this game. I think that line's going to move a little bit. I don't know why, but I think it's going to move a little bit. That's what running the ball does. Takes time off the clock. Jamila says, talk amongst yourselves is the most teacher. Yes. And I will say this to you guys. You guys have been a blessing to me. Going to CU games all of my life and being a avid Buff fan my entire life. I will tell you, the late 80s and the early 90s were a great freaking time, right? This has been more fun the last 2 years than that. And a lot of it has to do with my interaction with y'all and the ability to bring you content, the ability to bring you lives out at Folsom, for instance, and let you see things maybe for those of you who are not in Colorado who don't attend games. Let you see what the culture's like and the area and stuff like that. And my goal is to expand this. My goal is hitting that 7,000 subs isn't just a number for me. It's kind of like validation that y'all really enjoy what I bring you. And it's worth investing on my part to go into this, because I will tell you that this YouTube thing is a losing proposition for me. I only do it. I spend a lot of money on these things. Believe it or not, I do it because I love it. I do it because of you guys. I do it because of the interactions. That's why I like to get into the chat. I like to get into the comments and reply to every comment that I can, because that is the bread and the butter of what I love about this here at Alpine Garage Sports. So that's a wrap from Alpine Garage Sports. Thanks for playing with me today. Probably won't have a video tomorrow, but I'll be back on Tuesday, and we're going to start ramping up for Arizona and bring you a little bit more. I'm going to bring you some Arizona footage so you can see that. We'll talk about what we fixed, going, looking at some well-off media stuff, looking to see what we're working on, what we fixed, look at some the press conferences that are coming up and what we're focusing on, getting some health reports back to see who's going to be available for the Arizona game and who's going to be out longer term than that, and planning what we're going to be doing against each team, those kinds of things. That's coming up soon. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for hanging out with me. Please subscribe.